Here I have a 2024 Mazda CX90. This is Mazda's top of the line SUV, and it's a pretty good one. I'm gonna go over the 5 things that I love and 5 things that I hate about this car. And afterwards, you can decide whether or not you agree with me. So first, let's talk about the exterior styling. Mazda has done a fantastic job here. I love the way this SUV looks. It is very sleek, modern, and bold. It stands out amongst other SUVs in its class, and it has a very upscale look. I like the proportions, and I like the touches that Mazda has, for example with the logo here by the door. You can tell that Mazda is trying to compete with the luxury brands like Acura and Lexus rather than the regular brands like Hondas and Toyotas. Next, we'll head inside and go over the interior. So I think Mazda did a pretty good job laying everything out here. You have some pretty nice materials, nothing really feels cheap. And then if you step up to the higher trim, you can even get some wood panels here and some aluminum trim, which makes it look really elegant. Next is the fact that you have 3 rows in this car. My rear row is a 3-seat bench, but you can get it with 2 seats if you needed. Here I have 2 captain's chairs, but you can also get a bench style seat if you want. So you can get anywhere from 6 passenger capacity all the way up to 8. And it's perfect if you have kids and you need some space for them. Plus, I'd rather have this than a minivan. Next is the drivetrain and overall driving feel. The turbo inline-6 engine is very smooth and very potent. There is a plug-in hybrid version with a 4-cylinder gas engine, but the inline-6 is the way to go. The regular turbo models get 280 horsepower and 332 pound-feet of torque, while the Turbo S models get 340 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. I have a regular turbo model here, and it still feels really great. The car has good pickup, and you don't feel the large size. And I've heard some great things about the Turbo S models. The performance alone already puts this car ahead of the usual suspects like Honda, Toyota, Kia, Hyundai. It's definitely in a league above them. And when you put the car in sport mode, it actually handles pretty well given its size. Mazda has successfully made this a very engaging driving experience. It's actually fun to drive. And lastly, it would have to be the heads-up display. I don't know how well you can see it, but here it is. You will need to step up to at least the Turbo Preferred Plus trim to get this, but it's a nice feature to have. Not too many cars in this segment have this, and it's great for showing important information without you having to look down at your gauge cluster. It'll display your directions when using the built-in navigation system, your speed, current speed limit, following distance for the adaptive cruise control, and even your blind spot. When a car is in your blind spot, you'll see these lines pop up in the corresponding corners. So there you have it, 5 things that I love about the CX90. What are your thoughts so far? Do you agree or disagree with me? Let me know down in the comments, and if you're enjoying the video so far, leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this. Now, on to the 5 things that I hate. So first would have to be the fact that you don't get a touchscreen on trims with the smaller 10.25-inch display like I have here. If I hit this is not a touchscreen. I have to use the dial in the middle. So that does make it a little bit annoying. And this sucks because out of the 8 available trims, the bottom 4 trims have the smaller display, but the upper 4 trims get the 12.3-inch display, and that one is a touchscreen, but the car actually locks you out of the touchscreen once you put it in drive, and then you have to rely on the dial again. So that's just plain odd. Next, the lane centering feature is not standard across all models. It would be one of these buttons. You have to step up to the $50,000 Turbo S trim to get Mazda self-steering as a standard feature. It's unfortunate because the base trims of cheaper competitors already come with this feature standard. So next, it would have to be that the gauge cluster does look nice, but only the center gauge is an actual screen. These are physical gauges. And then it's not super configurable. You can only show very basic information. You can have a gauge here with your speedometer. You can show your average fuel mileage and direction, and just a picture of a car that would show like your following distance with the cruise control on. The heads-up display can show some additional information, but you can't get a full screen map, different vehicle gauges, or even display your music. You can get a full screen gauge cluster in the upper 4 trims, but even that display has limited configurability, so it's a bit of a letdown. So next is the fact that even though you have a 3rd row, it's really only meant for kids, especially when it comes to long drives. Here I am in the 3rd row. I have the 2nd row seat in a comfortable position that I would sit, if I was sitting behind myself. So I do have some knee room here, but the problem is my knees are kind of up because the floor on the third row is higher up than the floor on the second row. And then my feet have like, there's barely any space. Like, yes, we have this pass through here, so I could put one leg here, but if we were to fit 3 adults back here, forget about it. It's gonna be way too tight. So this is really only meant for kids, especially for the long drives. And then this is in the 7-seat configuration, where it's 2 in the middle, 3 in the back. If you were to get the 8-seat configuration, where it's 2 in the front, 3 in the middle, 3 back here, is gonna be way too tight for adults. It's not gonna be comfortable. And lastly would be that the transmission is very lazy to shift when you use the paddle shifters. There is some significant delay which dulls the driving experience. It's so much better to just let the car downshift for you when you hit the gas to accelerate. The response is actually pretty quick when you leave it in its auto setting. And when you ask for power, the car does a good job of actually gearing down for you. It's pretty immediate. So in general, I would just leave the car in its regular mode. I wouldn't really use the paddle shifters all that much. So there you have it. 5 things that I love and hate about the Mazda CX90. I think this is a great vehicle, and it does some things very well and other things not so much. The tech is definitely not the most advanced, and you need to step up to the higher trims for the better screens and self-driving features. But overall, the driving experience might make up for that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully this gave you a little more insight onto this car if you're looking to get it. I'll see you in the next one.